Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ambassador's Lounge. My team today includes Ambassador Asif Durrani and Ambassador Riaz Bukhari. Ladies and gentlemen, most of us know that when the late Hafiz al-Assad took over the presidency in the 1970s, he received severe backlash from the people. Now, according to the constitution of Syria, only a Muslim can be the president, but Mr. Assad belonged to a minority Alawites, so they were considered as non-Muslims. At this particular moment, the Iranian mullahs, they came to the rescue of Hafiz al-Assad, and they stated that Alawites are a branch of Shia Islam. Now, from that point onwards, started a friendship between Iran and Syria, which was to last for 50 years till it was overthrown by the rebels. This friendship reached its height during 2011, and from that moment onwards, Iran invested more than $30 billion in Syria. Syria was a very important component of Iran's resistance, the arc of resistance. It also included Hezbollah, it also included Hamas. Hezbollah was, of course, the crown jewel. But after October 7th, everything was decimated. Hezbollah was decimated, Hamas was destroyed, and now we see Syria completely destroyed. Now, what are Iran's options now? How does Iran wake up to the new realities? This is something which we are going to discuss with my panel. Asif, let me come to you first. Iran had for long relied on its forward defense doctrine. It had great confidence in the capabilities of its proxies and also in its arsenal of drones and missiles. Now, the key instrument was to project the power. Iran used these proxies to project its power and create a sort of deterrence. But the bubble after this, what has happened now, it has been blown. How does Iran respond to its failed proxy strategy?
I think Imran, jury is still out. I don't think that Iran may be down but not out, and these recent setbacks doesn't mean that the war is over. Why I say that? For instance, when a revolution took place in Iran, no one knew a few months before that Shah will be deposed, but it happened. Middle Eastern politics is so volatile. So politics is always volatile, but in the Middle East, there has not been a dull moment. I'm saying it with heavy heart, but it's the problem. And Iran, after the revolution, tried to secure the revolution. And it is also the revolutionary psyche that the best defense to protect the revolution is to expand it. And that's how, under that philosophy, Iran had to expand it. It expanded almost on 360 degrees. So Syria was not an exception. And then Syria also became a strategic partner because of its geography. With Syria, on one hand, it could knock the Israeli doors. It had access to Lebanon and also to Hamas. Now, you have talked about Alawites ruling Syria. Well, there are differences as far as Alawites, even among the Shias. But here we are talking about politics, and in politics, it makes strange bedfellows. So I would not be surprised. And more importantly, when you talk about Syria, it was a secular state, whether Hafiz al-Assad or Bashar al-Assad. So it was a secular polity. So in that case, this is the background I'm giving to you, that and how Iranian revolution in fact
The
expanded.
question is, how does Iran respond to its failed proxy strategy? It had its proxies, it was dependent on this thing, but that has failed.
It worked for 45 years. Otherwise, Soviet revolution also failed after 70 years. That's not the issue. In politics, it's a possibility. But here we are talking, no one expected that Hosni Mubarak would go.
Yeah.
No one expected there will be change in Tunisia
You're absolutely
or
correct.
Gaddafi would go.
But how do you think Iran will respond to
well,
this
is again, I said jury's out.
Yes.
Jury's out, it will take a while.
Yes.
You know, with what Asif has already, narrated about the historical context since 1979. Iran has, the two major slogans of Iranian revolution were Mark bar Israel and Mark bar America.
Yes.
It continued with that and succeeded in, building up an axis of resistance. Spent huge amount, you mentioned, the figure as far as Syria is concerned. But if you add, the Hamas, Lebanon, and Yemen, it may be, plus $50 billion so far, and huge sacrifices. According to one, the Iranian resource, which was reported in the Western media, the Iranian leadership was not, in favor of expanding their influence to support Bashar al-Assad because of his policies within Syria. But perhaps, the Republican Guard chief, former chief, late Soleimani, and Hezbollah's, former Secretary General, late Nasrallah, prevailed upon the Iranian leadership to build up their influence within Syria. As you mentioned in the opening, there are sectarian differences within Syria, and Assad regime obviously belonged to a minority sect. So the Iranian still has got, I think, more chances to look after their interests in Syria. I mean, sectarian is. Let me complete. Sectarian is not an issue.
Yes.
Hamas, extreme Sunni organization, Iran was helping them because of their own interests, as well as they were, resisting Israel's occupation in Palestine. So, I mean,
sir, my question is, how does Iran respond to its failed proxy strategy? Anyways.
No, but still, let me complete. There are still many groups within Syria. It is just 10 days there is a change in Syria. So I think there will be more chances, more opportunities for Iran to look after proxies within Syria, and they are available.
So you think Iran is going to rebuild its proxies?
Obviously, because it has to look after its interest in the region. Okay. It has to look after, its allies in the region. No doubt Russia is fighting its own wars. China is, building up its economic clout.
That's very dangerous policy if it tries to rebuild its
Iran
proxies.
is just one country.
Yes.
It is fighting against the rest of the world, if you allow me to say so. The whole Western world, the main superpower. Okay. Is against, they are against Iranian revolution.
Another question. We'll come back to this thing because I believe this is a very important question. Now, what changes, Asif, do you see in Iran's regional agenda?
I don't think so, because Iran is already well placed as far as regional policy is concerned. It has a strategic relationship with China, with Russia, and in fact, you can say regionalism is evolving as far as Central Asia, West Asia, and Caucasian Europe is concerned. It's evolving. So we should, in fact, not, give the judgment that Iran is out. Iran actually, geographically, it can play havoc in Hormuz, and so that's why. The Gulf states especially, they are also wary of these changes, because any disturbance would actually, number one, would block the oil supply.
Yes, that's right. Plus, I think Saudi and UAE, they have tested the Americans, and now Americans under Mr. Trump. I mean, in 2020, Trump refused to come to the assistance of Saudis when the Houthis attacked their oil installation.
Correct. So here we are, and then there's, you can say, uncertainty about Trump's new administration. He's raising noises, and he's raising noise against Iran, that he's going to be very tough. And then they have announced that on the 20th January, the first action they are going to take is to be more harsh on Iran. And the sanctions would be further, it would be further, they will have stringent sanctions. But they have already done it.
They've already done it. What
How
else?
Trump withdrew from
Absolutely.
the nuclear deal, and then it imposed oil embargo, so much so that India, which were buying close to $10 billion worth of oil from Iran, in fact, had to seek for a grace period, and in a year time, they stopped, except for China. China is still the largest buyer of Iranian oil, and it continues to buy, which is why they have pointed out that it is still, Iran is selling 2 million barrels per day.
2 million barrels per day, yes.
So if China is going to defy, no one can say that China will also buy it. No, it's not a possibility. So here, Iran is not in a weak position. Iran has got its own chips, and it can use it whenever it wants.
We'll come to that. Riaz, your view on this thing?
Iran is an injured country in the whole, scenario.
Okay.
I mean, what we were talking about 6 months ago or 1 year ago, Iran is not same today. Greater Israel has reached its border, and it is in a position to penetrate into Iran. So I think Iran, we have to see how things emerge, in the next 2 months or 3 months, because Syria is not settled so far.
Yes.
Right? Plus 500 sorties have been made by
800 plus 800.
Okay, by Israel's defense forces. No country in the region has responded except issuing a statement.
It looks, if I may interject,
Please.
It looks as if Israel was waiting this change to happen in Syria.
Absolutely, Asif. I totally agree with you on that
They have
count.
destroyed, and then it in fact raises objections, suspicions, whether this change is actually indigenous, or it is Israeli-inspired, American-inspired.
Absolutely correct. And
That is
I
the
would
issue.
say we need to go to the September 25th statement or speech of Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu when he flashed that flag of Greater Israel. And not many people are concentrating on it, but you must understand that the moment he did this, 7th October, Hamas attacked, and after that there is no letting down.
But you should also see Mr. Jolani, who is there in Damascus now calling the shots. Has he issued any strong statement against Israeli bombardment of the defense installations of Syria?
He is in no position to say anything.
But he is there, at least he should
But
say
I
something.
can see the hidden message in Imran's statement about 7th October thing. Because he has been hearing earlier also that Hamas perhaps may also have been hand in hand.
You need to understand, 7th October, Hamas suddenly decides, there are a lot of things we need to,
we
have talked
that.
about
We
it, we
discussed
discussed
that.
about that.
Yeah.
So I don't think that was just a one-off action by Hamas. I personally believe it had full support, or it had the concurrence of the Israeli authorities. Anyways, we'll come to back. So you think that Iran's regional strategy, regional agenda, developing friendly relations with the regional countries, with the GCC countries, it's important?
It is. In fact, Iran has been striving from the day one to build alliances.
So there are a lot of
Well, then you may have plans, you may have wishes. You may have wishes, but at the same time, your interlocutors perhaps may not have trust, or they may be suspicious about you. So this is as a problem of distrust as far as Iran and its neighbors, especially the Arab neighbors, are
So
concerned.
the Arabs have to realize, Iran has to realize that geography is not going to change. They are going to stay there. So the best possible option for them is to settle their differences and see how they can live amicably.
Imran, but the question is, are these Arab states capable enough to settle these disputes? That's the big question, because would they be allowed to do that? I mean, it was a big shock for the Americans when China mediated between Iran
Yes.
and Saudi Arabia. And since then, of course, the blessing has been that there hasn't been an exchange of bombs between Iran and Saudi Arabia, but at the same time, suspicions are there. Suspicion, and it's it can implode anytime.
Exactly. Anyway, gentlemen, Israel and US are reshaping the Middle East.
Yeah.
The greater Middle East is becoming sort of a reality.
Almost a reality now.
Almost a reality.
Yeah.
How do you think Iran will respond to this?
No, obviously, I said earlier, Iran it's just a battle which Iran has lost, if you want to say in that way. But war is still ongoing, and in Syria there are so many parties. Turkey is involved. Then there are Kurds, and then there are the rules.
Erdogan just made a speech while talking to the press. He said that now I have more influence in the region than Ayatollah Khamenei.
I mean,
but the question is whether Ayatollah Khamenei had the influence. Turkey, yes, they have their own interest. Fine, we can say that. What strategic benefits Turkey will have, we have to discuss it in a separate program.
Exactly. Yeah. We will do that. Anyways, so what do you think? How will Iran respond to this Greater Israel project, which is almost becoming a reality?
I think Iran will try to sabotage it, or at least neutralize it.
Iran is weakened.
No, weakened doesn't mean that you are out. And
for the moment, it is out.
Imran, for the time being, don't rule out the possibility, because those who are at the receiving end, whether in Syria or in Lebanon, or for that matter, Palestinians, and the brutalities which Israel has displayed all over, and the kind of genocide it has perpetrated, you think that it will win friends for Israel?
No, it will not.
You think?
But Israel has shown that it does not need friends among them.
Imran, hatred in the eyes is much powerful than you are holding guns. And that hatred is not going to go.
Yes, 100%
and this has
correct.
happened. And I should, in fact, quote Czech leader Havels, that feared the power of the powerless. So I think now we are entering into an age. And this is an age there where you cannot hide the news.
But still you hide the news.
Even then, no, even if. But the question is, don't rule it out.
Yeah, you're right.
If Iran continues with the confrontations path or resistance, if it continues with its axis of resistance, although it is weakened, that doesn't mean that they'll be out. They are there geographically. People are there. People in the Arab world are there. And perhaps, I fear that in the monarchies, there could be resentment.
Let me say something what Asif has said. One reality has emerged very fast, that there is only one country which is opposing the Greater Israel, its influence. The only country which is supporting Hamas. The only country which openly extends assistance to the aggrieved parties in the Middle East.
Which aggrieved parties?
But Hamas.
People are happy that Hezbollah is decimated. People are happy that Hamas is gone.
People are happy that
Palestinians-
45,000
Palestinians
people
are
have been
happy.
killed.
No, that's
Do you want to say that people are happy?
No, they are definitely not happy. But people, the Palestinians, the Lebanese, they were fed up of
You think
Hezbollah.
that will be the last?
No, that will not be the last. I totally agree with you. On
So
that.
this is what we are trying. I mean, this is
But Asif, what I'm saying is that
the present phase
that Hezbollah has.
is a setback. We can say it is a setback.
So you mean to say that just as it happened in 2006 and
No,
there-
earlier. What about 67? What about 73? You know, Egypt lost the whole of Sinai.
Yes.
Then they recaptured. You know, and they recaptured with a smart strategy. They were conducting exercises, and Israelis were thinking this as a exercise. And one of the exercises, they just captured Sinai. So here the dynamics of the entire region, it is not new. It has got 1400 years of history, at least when Islam came into that region. And Al-Quds Sharif has changed hands 24 times.
Okay. Now let me, with the three questions I just asked, now I think I want to, Iran had a deterrence.
Yeah.
These proxies served as a deterrence. Now that deterrence is gone. What are Iran's options now?
For a while it may lie low, but at the same time it will definitely strive to build its muscles.
What do you mean by that?
They would want to recoup.
How?
How?
Yeah.
I can't vouch for them, but they will, because if this present dispensation is to stay, and its philosophy, otherwise Iran would not be the same Iran. If this excess of resistance, either excess of resistance has to be dissolved.
Yes.
That philosophy has to be dissolved.
Axis of resistance is still there. Hezbollah, no doubt it has been, cut to, I would say, size, but still resistance is there. Houthis are still there. There are groups within Syria, within Iraq, who are supporting, the Iran's strategy. And obviously Iran has to review its options. Right?
So what are those options?
Like Kurds are there. Kurds have also been, shifting their loyalties. Sometime here, sometime there.
But somehow
if you spend money,
Kurds have been actually pro-Israeli, somehow.
let's say.
Whether
You've got a
it
point
is
there, you've got a point,
Iranian
yeah.
Kurds or it's
Turkish
now
Kurds,
still
Iraqi
we are
Kurds.
still, so one option which you said was rebuilding, which you have been emphasizing on, rebuilding its proxies.
Yeah.
It would take a lot of time. Hezbollah is completely decimated. It is leaderless. And if you see the ceasefire agreement which was agreed in last month, it sends Hezbollah back in the future. Right, Hezbollah is really weakened.
Yep, it is.
Hamas is completely destroyed. So Iran would need a lot of effort
Efforts
to
and time,
rebuild
resources.
its and resources, as you said. Second option, nuclear deterrence. Asif,
you don't agree, but I still maintain.
what?
And that is that if Iran is pushed to the corner, they'll declare their status as a nuclear weapon state. They have already acquired the capabilities in 2022, already hinted by former Foreign Minister Kamal Kharrazi, who now heads the think tank under Rahbers.
But as Kamal Kharrazi's latest statement says that we have not developed a nuclear weapon, we still follow the nuclear doctrine which has been given by the leader.
Let me add to that. Kamal Kharrazi says that we have acquired the capability.
Yes, he said that.
But we follow the dictum that we will not weaponize it.
Yes.
But what is it? You go back to our own statement when we did not declare our status as a nuclear
in the
weapon.
80s.
We said we have acquired the capability, but a political decision has been made not to weaponize our nuclear program. The question is, it is the capability. Intention can change. Had we relied on Indian assurances, we would have been nowhere. So therefore, we had to develop our capabilities, and then we had to respond to the Indians in the same coin.
Yes.
Asif was ambassador to Tehran, so I can't differ with him. He knows more about Iranian nuclear program. I do recognize that.
IAEA says it will take 6 months to 1 year.
When did they say that?
Well, I think
almost 8 months ago.
Rossi was there.
Not 8
months.
Imran,
Rossi
we
was
both
there,
were.
the head of the IAEA was there, and he said that, you see, one more thing. Second thing is, Israel considers Iran's nuclear program as its existential threat. So if Iran decides to go nuclear, there would be severe response by Americans and Israelis.
Once they have crossed the Rubicon.
Asif, it's not, no. It's not the question of crossing it. They do not still have the capability to deliver it.
Iran has no delivery. They acquired the delivery system much earlier. We acquired the delivery much later. And I recall that I wrote a paper when we were together in Tehran, posted there. I was first secretary. And my contention was that these missile capabilities, which Iran was developing way back in 1998, I said, unless it is tipped with lethality, would have no meaning. It would just be a delivery system. So here, Iran has been much smarter. Circumstances have forced Iran. So Iran has been, and it is under sanctions since 1979 onwards. And it has faced the Americans and the Israelis since 1979. So here my contention is, I stand corrected, perhaps I may be wrong, but the issue is why this dispute on Iran's nuclear capabilities. The issue is, otherwise, there are 33 states in the world who are just a screw turn away to become nuclear weapon states.
As if here Iran's nuclear program is considered as a security threat for Israel. US supports it, West supports it. So
Iran's revolution when the nuclear issue was,
nuclear issue for these people is vital. And I fail to understand how you can say that Iran will go nuclear despite these things.
Actually, Imran Yawar, this nuclear issue it was exposed in 2003 actually. Before that, only there were sanctions that Iran cannot acquire nuclear technology for peaceful purposes. Under the NPT, Iran is entitled. Iran is exercising, and they have invoked that clause of the NPT, which allows them to acquire nuclear capability. So Russia they offered their nuclear capability to Iran for peaceful purposes. But this is the capability. We should not forget this capability in any case. As I said, 33 countries right now are
Iran at the moment has no defense against Israel's air attacks.
Listen, once you become nuclear, let me tell you.
And I tell you, Israel and US and the West, they are keeping a very sharp eye on the nuclear program.
Whatever eye they have.
And if they feel that any progress has been made, they will definitely retaliate.
Your whatever you want to say, you are entitled. But the issue is when it comes to their survival, Iran's.
I totally agree with you.
So listen to me. Now you have to fit into the Iranian shoes.
Yes. I have been there, so
no, you have.
I understand.
So, what do you think that they are going to, care for Israel's capital or Americans?
I believe Iranians will not go nuclear. I believe Iran will.
I can bet on that.
You can, of course.
Let's today decide that we can bet.
My belief is that Iran intends to use its nuclear program as a leverage to gain favors with the West, with the US, and even with Israel.
Imran Yawar.
Anyways,
let me respond.
The bet first.
Let me respond to you. Why it would be otherwise an empty warning like Saddam did, and had to face the music. Iranians are not going to commit that mistake.
Well, time will tell. Anyway, next question, Riaz, to you. Do you think what has happened now, will it start an arms race in the region?
Armed race.
Because
it
you
is
see,
already,
if Iran goes nuclear
From
also,
where-
and of
from
course
where Iran
the
will-
regional countries would not be very happy. Saudi Arabia has already stated that if Iran goes nuclear, it would also like to go nuclear. It would. So these things will happen, and as you said, from where Russia has been supplying them with.
I mean, other countries, you know, they will acquire nuclear, you know, knowledge or technology. Who will provide? Russia, already under sanctions, right? And the West, will they provide against, you know, which will pose existential threat to the state of Israel? If someone acquires this technology, you know, it has to be against someone.
But Riaz, it will be a different ball game when
Yes.
if Iran declares itself as a nuclear
Then it will
weapon
be very
state,
different thing.
then in fact there will be a domino effect.
Yes.
And no one would be able to stop that domino effect.
And Turkey is there, Egypt is there, Saudi Arabia is there.
Oh, I mean, it could
As
be
it is,
anybody's.
as it is perceived today, this, you know, nuclear, you know, threat will be against the state of Israel,
Obviously.
not against UAE
No, not.
or the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia or Bahrain. Do you think it will be that?
No, I agree with you.
So it will be against the state of Israel if the time comes.
If the
Otherwise,
time
you know,
comes. Asif, how do you see Iran's pivot east policy? Do you think it worked?
Well,
When I say pivot east, I also include Russia in it.
Russia and China.
well, I think they are all partners. So, and you have to give credit to Russia and to China that they have honored their part of the deal as far as the region is concerned. And they stood by Iran, despite all sanctions. They stood by Iran in the UN Security Council. For instance, they stood in with Bashar al-Assad as in UN Security Council.
Yes.
So these are, you can say, the strategic alliance which has been made.
So, but is this pivot east policy working? Do you think in the long run also, if you see in the
setbacks,
future?
Imran Yawar, because the other side is not sitting idle. You know, so they are trying to undermine this. They have tried. They have temporary, I think, success in Syria, but I can tell you, Syria one day is going to explode on the faces of the Israelis.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Mr.
That we
Asad
will see.
Durrani is
That we
prophesizing
will
now.
see later.
Riaz, coming to you.
Riaz,
Connected to this
Resistance
question.
will always be there in Syria.
I can tell you.
You cannot rule it out.
No, and don't forget about the Syrian history, historical.
Yes, right. Now, coming to you.
Salahuddin Ayyubi
Yeah.
onwards. Don't forget this. And they are the neighbor, and then they have the right on Al-Quds al-Sharif.
Yeah.
Don't they?
Okay. Now,
I agree.
Riaz, Iran is obviously considerably weakened after this thing. Now, President Masoud Pezeshkian, he has been talking about dialogue with the West. Now, just connecting to what last question with Asif. What is the possibility of Iran going the US and the West way?
Oh, I think not you know, in the next 5 years.
So far, we
not
dream
in the next
about
5 years.
Ambassador, please
No,
let him answer.
You know, the issue is with Syria almost, you can say, neutralized in a way, that the West will have greater influence in Syria.
So
We
my
should-
question is
let
how, what, no, sir, you are
let
going
me-
wrong way. You are
let me-
going wrong way.
let me-
My question is, what do you think Iran will go the US and the West way? Since its pivot east policy, Asif has his views, but apparently it did not work to their benefit.
I mean, how can you know, for the last 50 years, they were saying Mark bar Israel, Mark bar.
Well, that can change anytime.
United States.
Masoud
Can they-
Masoud
No,
Pezeshkian has been talking about dialogue with the
Talking
West.
for
Well,
peace is
dialogue,
something else.
no.
Sir, just a
No,
second. Let him answer, let him
dialogue,
answer.
talking, negotiation is something else. But going the West way
By
will
West way, I mean,
definitely
I will
compromise their
improve relations
spirit
with
of
the West.
revolution.
Why you are out to actually make Pezeshkian to be pro-Western? He's not.
No, I'm not saying he's pro-Western. I'm saying he said in his statements a number of times that we want to have good relations with the West.
This has been the common
No,
refrain
Mr. Asif Durrani, I do not agree that this has been a common rhetoric. This is something. This is something different. This is something which is stressing.
Ambassador Imran, Mr. Rouhani has also been saying that. About the talks, which is why they entered into JCPOA. Right. So these are the talks. Iran has not shied away from talks. It was the United States which backed out. Don't forget that.
Yeah.
And yes, United States can afford it because they unsigned ICC, International Criminal Court. They signed it and they unsigned it. They have not ratified the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty. Otherwise, its implementation is in a limbo. So, United States has.
So you think
backed out.
What you're saying is Mr. Masood Pezeshkian's just these statements about dialogue with the West, it should be just not be considered at all. It's not.
No, it is for record that Iran cannot be blamed. Come on,
Riaz, your point of view on that.
The president.
You mean to what you're saying is it's just to keep on the record.
No, after winning the elections,
yes,
obviously Iran is under sanctions. You know, the economy
Don't you think Iran would want to come out of the sanctions?
Obviously, why not?
So if
for
they
that,
want
they need to talk.
to improve relations and they realize that the best possible way of getting out of the sanctions is to improve relations with the West and to improve relations with the US.
Improving relations with the outside world is not an issue.
At what cost?
But are you prepared to compromise the spirit of your revolution? That is totally different. So you have to see in that context.
Spirit of revolution, that the spirit is gone. The regime inside is weakened. The regime inside is weakened.
Are you telling me that Iranian revolution will wind up?
I think
go back?
I think so.
And then what are those symptoms which you have seen?
I think Iran is economically very weak.
Iran has been weak for the past 45 years.
It has been weak. It is not only economically weak, its defense system is weak, its deterrent system is weak. I think Iran is at the moment in a position it was never before in its post-revolution history.
And if they continue to resist, then?
I don't think they will continue to resist. I think now they want a way out. I think now they want to resolve their differences.
Let's not be so judgmental.
I'm not being judgmental. Come on. You have the right to have your views. If I gave my views, you think I'm being judgmental.
The issue is.
Come on, I'm ambassador for God's sake.
Listen. Allow me to say.
Please go ahead.
Allow me to say that.
Go ahead.
Because Iranians are still very much in power, the present dispensation. And they have their plans, and they are not.
They have their what?
They have their plans.
Which plans?
They may be down, but they are not out.
No. Which plans are you talking about?
I'm telling you that
they have no plans, Asif Durrani. They have no plans.
Sooner you will.
Iran at the moment has no plans.
Can I finish?
Please go ahead.
They will announce their status as a nuclear weapon state.
Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed.
Why it gives you goosebumps?
No, it doesn't give me goosebumps. I'll say let's keep our
Whenever
fingers
I say
crossed.
it gives you goosebumps.
Because because what you're saying, you are making a statement on behalf of a regime which is not ready to do that.
What are the options available for Iran? It will use all those options,
absolutely,
including the nuclear option.
Let me add one thing over here. If you just look at what China was from 1949,
Okay.
Cultural revolution, how many people lost their lives, their economic conditions, and very few countries had recognized Iran as an independent state. Where China is today.
Correct. Very good. You have given a very good example. Asif, you tell me. Have the relations, with Mr. Pezeshkian there, how do you see the relationship between, Mr. Pezeshkian is different, he's more of a moderate. So how do you see the relations between moderates and conservatives at the moment? Do you think, and let me add to this, do you think the conservatives are weakened?
Ambassador Imran Yawar, I think we shouldn't forget that Iranian system, when we talk about Masood Pezeshkian, there is a tradition going on
yes.
ever since the Iranian Revolution. They have alternated between conservatives and moderates. Pezeshkian is considered to be a moderate, but before him, Raisi was considered to be a conservative. Unfortunately, he had an unnatural death, so that's why they brought the
So what you're trying to say is that relations between moderates and conservatives, it's just
they are the two sides of the same coin.
It's the two sides of the same coin.
Yes. This is what because none of them
has the leader's position been weakened?
No, Imran, none of them are against the system or revolution. They may have differences of opinion.
And that's a very good point you have made. But so, just to add it, have the conservatives been weakened during this process?
Yes, Imran, I would say that the conservative has weakened to some extent in exercising their influence over the policies of Iran because of what they have not been able to achieve in Syria, Lebanon, as well as the fight of Hamas against the state of Israel.
So because this was the policy of IRGC, this was the policy of the Rahbar, and that has been beaten back.
Listen, if I may interject.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Americans, they decimated Taliban, and there was an overwhelming view that Taliban are not going to come back after 9/11. What happened? After 20 years of war, Americans spending $2.6 trillion, losing thousands of soldiers and maiming their soldiers, plus the natural losses, they handed over
so what are you basically
the reins from Taliban to Taliban.
Master, what are you basically trying to say about Iran? Taliban, everyone knows. Now, how this analogy which you have just mentioned, how are you trying to put
resistance would be there.
Resistance, but Iranian regime is not popular among the people, among the Iranian people. And which resistance are you talking about?
The question is, when were they popular when the revolution took place?
Continue.
You can't undermine the role of the Tudeh, Nazat-e-Azadi, the freedom movement of Iran and others. So here we are talking about politics.
Okay.
Art of possible.
Coming to you. Now this Iran's grandiose rhetoric about eliminating Israel, this reminds us of Egypt's Nasser in the 60s and Saddam Hussein in the 90s. Both vowed to eliminate Israel. And then Hezbollah, as Nasrallah, he promised political, economic liberation of the Palestinians. Now, he is also gone. Do you think the culture of resistance in the Middle East is gone?
No, it will remain there. The people, the fighting for liberal values, secular
Which values? Liberal values, secular values. The Palestinians were not fighting for the liberal values or the secular values. Iran does not fight for the liberal or secular values.
I am talking about in the general sense.
Allow him to speak.
I am not talking about just, Hamas or other forces. Even in other countries, people will continue to struggle against, the autocratic form of government or autocrats or, others. That will remain there. Their struggle will continue. Same way, Hezbollah, Hamas, Palestine, as well as other groups in Syria, they will continue with their struggles. That will remain there.
I fully agree, because it doesn't mean that their DNA will be changed with these setbacks or defeats. Defeat and victory go hand in hand historically.
Okay. Final question. Iran has been softened. I've asked this question. I have asked this question
repeatedly,
many times before. Not many times, once before. Now, Iran has been softened. It was one of the few countries left with anti-Israel rhetoric. The second country is Pakistan. How should we shape our rhetoric?
Listen, we are not a revolutionary country.
Okay.
We are evolving.
Okay.
But at the same time, there have been certain constants which were not common with Iran. For instance, before revolution, Iran had a relationship with Israel. We did not. So we are constantly, we were there with the Palestinians. We were with the Palestinians, we are with the Palestinians, and we will be with the Palestinians.
Yes.
But this is, what the people of Pakistan wants. If the general public is behind your, Middle East policy, we should continue with that.
We should continue.
Unless there is a change in the public mood. Otherwise, I don't see any change in our Middle East policy.
Thank you, gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, we just watched our program. It's a unanimous view of our panelists that Iran may be defeated in the battle, but the war is still not finished. Iran is a powerful country. It has a history of thousands of years. It has exercised considerable influence in the region, and it will continue to exercise its influence. At the moment, Iran has its weaknesses. It is considerably weakened after Israeli attacks, but it has its deterrence is also weakened. It has options, as Mr. Riaz Bukhari said, Ambassador Riaz Bukhari said, that one of the options is to rebuild on its proxies. And as Ambassador Asif, who was very optimistic about Iran's nuclear capabilities, said nuclear option is for Iran is there. But both of these options, they are fraught with dangers. My belief is that if Iran goes in that direction, it will face severe retaliation from the Israelis and the Americans. Israel considers Iran's nuclear program as a serious security threat. Internally, obviously, we know that Iran's regime is weak. It's not very popular among the people. The present leader, President Mr. Pezeshkian, he has expressed interest in developing relations with the West. How does it develop? We have President Trump coming, and we will see much in the future. Thank you for watching Ambassador's Lounge. Please subscribe to this channel and do give us your views, your recommendations, how we can improve this program further. Thank you, and we will be back.